that there was two announcements. One was that Eid al-Adha was on Sunday, Saturday. Saturday or Sunday? Sunday. Okay. And then East Coast, they did it the day after. And the reason was because in San Diego, moon was sighted. There's two different groups. They saw the moon earlier. So it was kind of a two situation. But for Muharram, inshallah, that's not the case, at least based on the possibility and the probabilities. So inshallah, plan in a way if you want to get a day off for Ashura from now on, and if you need a 2 weeks notice or something in that regard, I'll tell you to do it based on 30th to be first. And based on that, it would be Monday. Yeah, so based on that, Monday would be the 10th of Muharram and Ashura. So if you want to do it based on that possibility, inshallah. But we will wait for Thursday night for the final confirmation. But as I said, more than 95% chances Muharram will be on Saturday, July 30th. That would be the first of Muharram. رسالة صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين الهداة المهديين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم والذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا وإن الله لمع المحسنين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the honor of the Holy Prophet and his immaculate progeny Ahlul Bayt, recite the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The 24th of Dhul Hijjah, which was today, is the anniversary of an event when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after providing knowledge and answers for the questions that the delegations from the Christians of Najran they had for the Prophet, still they persisted on their opposition to the Prophet. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because now knowledge and answers was provided for them, the last resort is that let's ask Allah to be the judge between us and to reveal who is the truthful and who is the liar. Mubahila, or mutual cursing, is an event that had a precedent before Islam as well, but ultimately is that two parties that they claim to be on the side of God, two parties that they think that God is siding with them and truth is with them, they come and ask Allah to punish the liar. And on that day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah number 3, verse 61, commanded Prophet, that was an order of Allah. فَمَنْ حَجَّكَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. After ilm and knowledge and answers was provided, still if they continue with their dispute, فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. Which means Allah says, the new messenger addressed the Christians of Najran that let's bring your sons and we bring our sons. We bring our women, you bring your women. You bring yourselves, your souls, and we bring ourselves. And then we ask Allah to expose the liar. And then may the la'an and the curse of Allah be upon those who are liars. Again, Muharram is around the corner, and whenever we recite in the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, Allahumma al'an awwala zalimin zalama haqqa Muhammadan wa ali Muhammad, or the other statement, one thing you will hear is there is no la'an in Quran. Allah never asked anyone to be punished or that His mercy will be removed from them. And you say, no, there are many verses in Quran that Allah actually cursed people, from the liars to the munafiq and hypocrites to many people. And then they go to the next category. So no, Allah did not curse individuals. So what if Allah did not curse individuals but curse an entire group of people? That's okay and this is not okay. That's why one of the recommended zikr on the day of Ashura is Allahumma al'an qatalat al-Husayn alayhi salam. Ya Allah, remove your mercy from the killers, from those who participated in the killing of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So on that promised day, Imam Ali alayhi salam accompanied Prophet to represent his self, his nafs. Fatima Zahra came to represent the women of the Prophet's side and the Islam side. And Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein, which they were children at the time, they came to represent the sons of the Prophet. And we have, when the Christians, they saw that this Prophet, he claims to be the man of God, he claimed to be the apostle. He's there with no soldiers, with no army, and he just brought his family. They decided not to proceed and engage in mubahala. They decided to sign an agreement, a peace treaty between the Muslims and the Christians at the time. So mubahala, the actual mubahala, did not take place. The same way like Eid al-Qurban and Eid al-Adha, the actual sacrifice of Ismail did not happen. But that does not take any value from the concept. The same way we celebrate Eid al-Adha, because Ibrahim alayhi salam went all the way in to proceed with the command of Allah. On the event of mubahala, Messenger of Allah and his family, they proceed with the mubahala. The other side, they were the one who refused, and they decided to come to agreement with Muslims at the time. But which is the month that we are in, the final days of this month. There are so many events in this month. From the event of mubahala, a few days ago we had Eid al-Ghadir. Before that we have revelation of Ayat Tathir, verse 33 of Surah number 33. Revelation of Ayat Wilayat regarding Imam Ali giving the ring. Revelation and hadith of Thaqalain being mentioned in the day of Arafah and other days in the month of Dhul-Hijjah. So many events in regard of Ahlul Bayt. That even in Sahih Muslim, volume 4, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inni tarikun fikum al-thaqalain kitab Allah wa itrati or Ahlul Bayti." I'll be leaving you with two weighty, two precious things, the Book of God and my family. So in 23 years, Prophet talked about the Book of God. Piece by piece, he communicated the revelation and the wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in his life, piece by piece, in many events, he talked about the Ahlul Bayt as well. If is the hadith regarding Fatima Zahra being the master of the woman of the universe, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, to call Imam Ali alayhi salam Akhi Wasiyi, to recite the brotherhood pact and covenant between himself and Ali alayhi salam, to close all the doors of the masjids except the door of Ali alayhi salam. Just take a look at Dua Nudba, and there's a list of why we have so many reasons about leadership of the Imam Ali alayhi salam after the Prophet, because in his lifetime Eid al-Ghadir was the final step. It was kind of that if you did not get all these other messages. This cannot be more clear than that. Man kuntu mawla fa'adha aliyun. There is no other way. There's no other way. If it would have said, if I'm your Khalifa, Ali is your Khalifa, they would say, oh, it was about his inheritance or it was about how to distribute his wealth. They will find a reason. My topic is not this, but because Mubahala, it's the final, moment that at least in regard of the wilayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam, we celebrated. That's why I wanted to talk about it. Alhamdulillah. It was Eid al-Ghadir celebration last week here. It's kind of, I wanted to make sure mention it before I continue my topic that I've started a while ago. And that is, remember about Ghadir, approaches of the deniers of Ghadir is not the same. That's the power of, by the way, misinformation. If you go before the social media era, the time that people did not have access to references of hadith before. Let's say Allama Amini, when he collected all these traditions from the books of Ahlul Sunnah, it took him years. He traveled across the Muslim world. It took him years. We talk not about hours, years of his life. Because he has to go from one library to another, go through the entire book. There was no such a thing as Control F, and then you have an option to search the entire page or entire book. At that time, the approach of deniers of Ghadir was, Ghadir is a fictitious story. There's no Ghadir. Because no one had that opportunity and access to go, okay, there is a Ghadir. But now they cannot say there's no Ghadir. As soon as they say there's images, there are photos, there are PDFs of all the books of Ahlul Sunnah and many, more than 100 companions of the Prophet who narrated Ghadir. So what's the approach now? Yeah, Ghadir happened, but it's not a big deal. Yeah, 70 days before his death, Prophet stopped thousands of Muslims. 70 days before his death. Waited for 3 days to say, oh, if you like me, like Ali. If I'm your friend, Ali is your friend. It's not about imamat. It's not about leadership. And I always say, for the sake of argument, let's say you're right. The word Mawla, what you say hypothetically is okay. Did you consider Ali as a friend after the Prophet? Was it in the battle of Jamal? Was it in the battle of Siffin? Was it in the battle of Nahr? Which one you consider Ali as a friend? You didn't even follow that. And now you call people like Muawiyah who cursed Ali ibn Abi Talib for 70 years. It was a ban on people naming their children Ali. Maytham al-Tammar was killed because he praised Ali. His tongue was pulled out of his mouth. Tortured to death. Did you follow that advice of the Prophet? Let's hypothetically say you're right. You didn't even do that. Because for you, Mawla, if his master, if his guardian, if his friend, it makes no difference. You don't want to look at Ali ibn Abi Talib the way he was worthy of. So the approach is, as I said, is different. They're not saying the same thing anymore. And even if you prove it that word Mawla means leader, means the one in charge. Allahu waliyyu alladhina amanu yukhrijum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. Ni'ma al-mawla wa ni'ma al-nasir. Even if you prove it, then they find another excuse. Ali was not even there. Let's now debate that one. So remember, be aware of these misinformation. Muharram is around the corner. And as soon as these events come, because the power that Muharram has to educate our youth, educate ourselves, is a revival. Is a power that nothing has that power. It brings people, it helps them to come and sit down, to invest, to donate, to give. So it's the greatest opportunity to promote the truth, which is the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. That's why they go after it. They had to try to shut it down. One excuse you will hear, oh, Muharram is about a man. 1300 years ago something happened. 1400 years ago something happened. It's gone, it's over. And there are so-called Muslim who says that. And I tell them, go read Quran. Quran talks about many people who they've been much longer before the Prophet. We talk about Adam alayhi salam. The first early verses of Surah Baqarah is about Adam and Hawa. فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ عَنْهَا فَأَخْرَجَهُمَا. So if you talk about all this story, Allah talks about it. If it's something that you consider as a Muslim, if somebody's an atheist, if somebody is a secular that they say, oh, I don't believe in religion at all, so that's a different topic. Let's talk about God to begin with. But if you call yourself a believer, a Muslim, and then you say, don't talk about Imam Hussein because he was killed more than 1300 years ago, did you read Quran as a Muslim? Which part of Quran is you read that said is about people? Is it Baqarah, the story of a cow of Bani Israel? Is it Ali Imran, the story of Isa and Maryam and Zakaria? Is it the story of Yunus, Hud, Lut? Is it Ashab al-Kahf, companion of the caves? Which story are you talking that is not in the past? It's all about the past. But those excuses will come. And suddenly these anti-Muharram, anti-Sayyid al-Shuhada people and their agenda, suddenly they become, as I said, for the sake of opposing Imam al-Hussein, they become secular. They make fun of Muharram. You're a Muslim. If you say that, people make fun of you. That you Muslim, you read a book that was revealed 1400 years ago, and you make fun of a story that took place 1300 years ago. That's ironic and that's ridiculous in many levels. Let me, this will be inshallah my final lecture, at least for prior to Muharram and Safar, inshallah. Sayyid Radawiyan, alhamdulillah, we make dua for his safe return, and inshallah he will be present, and inshallah you will benefit from his knowledge. I was just holding his place, and again, I don't consider myself to be a substitute. Rather, I was the only available option at the time. Please just accept it the way it was. Inshallah, when he will be back, you will benefit from his majalis in month of Muharram. But the topic that I've been discussing for a few weeks is a tradition from Imam Ali alayhi salam. Again, the name Ali is so important that even when you go to Muharram, you cannot talk about Imam al-Hussein without Ali. He named all his three sons Ali. Ali al-Asghar, Ali al-Akbar, Ali al-Awsat. That Muharram without Ali alayhi salam is no Muharram, by the way. So there's a hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam, 349 hikmah of Imam Ali and Nahj al-Balagha. Please read it yourself in entirety of it. I wasn't able to complete it, but whenever inshallah is a tawfiq to come back, maybe I can pick it up and continue from where I left off. We talked about how we can, from the Islamic perspective, from the Imam Ali alayhi salam's point of view, how we can build our character. Character building according to Imam Ali alayhi salam. First one was self-introspection, to know who we are, to know our flaws, to have ma'rifah, to know our uyub, what's wrong with us, what's our mistake, what's something that I have to work on. And we should not be delusional, that to imagine I'm perfect. There are people who have narcissism. There are people who are suffering from delusion. They think everything is perfect with them. It's everyone else's fault. Step number 2 in self-building, according to Imam Ali alayhi salam, was qana'ah, contentment. We need to develop this idea and concept, Allahumma ja'al ghinaya fi nafsi, to find fulfillment in our own character. If I'm someone that I think my Gucci bag or my Yeezys are going to make me who I am, and how people respect me, I did not understand the concept of qana'ah. The qana'ah ultimately comes from knowing that who you are. My entire outfit could cost less than $100, less than $50. But I know who I am. It doesn't matter how people look at me. Otherwise, if I'm always looking for validation from outside, it's a very miserable life. It's like a beggar going around just asking for attention. So that's qana'ah. And then the third step, which was I think 2 weeks ago we talked about it, is to develop this sense of prevention of dhulm, prevention of oppression, injustice. In other words, we need to avoid harm. Because one issue is that we always make a mess and we try to fix it. In our relationship with Allah, Allah is generous. Said, okay, you mess up our relationship, repentance, tawbah, hundreds of times you broke your promise, come back. Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'a. Allah forgives every sin. But one thing that you cannot get away with is when other people, other human beings, other creation of God are involved. And Allah said, yes, it's my creation. I gave him that right. So if you oppress them, you have to ask them to forgive you. I delegated it to them. I pass it to them. Is their haq now? Is their right? We need to develop that character, a character that is running away from dhulm, from oppression. Dhulm, again, a brother said something very good. He said last time that I was talking, I used the word dhulm a lot rather than the English translation. The English translation doesn't do justice to what dhulm is. But dhulm, again, if I want to define it, dhulumat is darkness. Dhulm and dhulumat is darkness. Nur and dhulumat are, they are opposites. And for that reason, when you commit dhulm, it's like that you are not seeing the reality under the light. You think you have the right to say whatever you want, to do whatever you want, to treat people the way you want, and that costs people their reputation, their honor, their dignity. So you drag them into darkness with you, with your zulm. That's dark. So that's why one definition of dhulm is oppression, is to force someone to do something that they don't want to, or forcefully take away something from them, or forcefully harm and attack them. That's the dhulm. But also a definition of dhulm is injustice. Anything that is not fair, anything that is not just is also dhulm. Adl and dhulm also, they stand against each other. So developing this character of anti-dhulm is part of a mu'min character building process. And I talked about that. I'm not going to repeat everything. Again, you can go back to the speech, which I mentioned. When you say dhulm and oppression against creation of God, including trees, plants, including animals. You start from there, and of course you come to people. Don't oppress your coworker. Don't oppress your employee. Don't oppress your children. Don't oppress your parents. Don't cause harm to them. The 4th and 5th is, inshallah, what I want to talk about. I'll keep it short, I promise. 4 and 5th are kind of, they're infused, they're together regarding this character building. But this needs reflection, by the way, needs tafakkur. The hadith says, Man kabada al-umur atiba wa man iqtahama al-lujaj ghariqa. So the 4th and 5th is about people who get into something without preparation. So if you're not ready and you jump into something, that means you were not ready. So part of the character building is that whatever we want to do in our lives, we need to be ready. Or at least we need to warm up. So the first one says, Man kabada al-umur, the one who engages. Kabada is when you occupy yourself, when you engage in something, when you strive. You try to do it, you focus on it, you're planning to do it, you're invested. That's kabada in Arabic. Umur is the matters, work. But without preparation, without proper planning, what happened? Atiba. That will lead to destruction. It will destroy you. The one who strives without preparation will perish. If you don't have the proper tools, if you don't have the proper means, you'll perish. The fifth one said, the one who jump into waves, lujaj, كاللجج الغامرة we have in the ziyarah. If you jump into deep waves, غرق, you'll drown. Again, if you're not a swimmer and you jump in, it doesn't matter, maybe you're a good swimmer in your swimming pool, but if you go to ocean and there are waves coming, you know, many people actually they drown in oceans. Some of them, they don't know how to swim. Many, they are good swimmers, but because they're not good at it, or they swim at the wrong time, because as soon as they try to surface and breathe, a second wave come and a third wave come, and eventually they die. They drown. It's an amazing metaphor. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, if you don't know what you're doing and you engage in life and waves are coming, crashing after another, you'll drown. So what is about character building we should know from this? First of all, don't be the one who gamble your life. Don't jump into the middle of something without knowing. You know, all these videos out there, all these books out there, they talk about, you know, sometimes you have to jump in the middle of something in order to figure it out. Let's say you travel, you go to a country, you don't know the language, you don't know anything. You just go, and as you go, you figure out. The question is, sometimes that's true, depending where you go. What's the risk? Do you have risk assessment? Some areas you go, the chances are that you're risking your life. In some matters, the worst case scenario is you lose some money. You'll be cheated, or you'll be tricked. You'll be scammed. That's the worst that could happen. But some areas is not about you losing money, it's about your life. So Imam alayhi salam is saying, know and understand what are you getting yourself into. So a proper character building teaches us that we need to prepare. We need the means. Whatever we do, we need the means. When Imam alayhi salam goes to the battlefield, what Ali alayhi salam has with him? He has, of course, the iman. He has the strength, he has the bravery, all of them. But in addition to all of them, what he has? Tell me. Dhul Fiqar. He needed Dhul Fiqar, he needed a mean. He's not going to go and start fighting. You know, you've seen these action movies, the guy has a gun and they try to fight them with karate, or karate, or whatever they say it. What is it? The real life is that how we can face that. That's why you see about, you know, some funny self-defense videos. This guy said, okay, this guy has a knife and coming at you. You saw that video? This guy was basically a master sensei. Said, okay, if they come at you and they try to stab you, this is how you block. So the student asked, I said, okay, I got it. And they go, and next time the student tried to do it, and the mugger comes, and instead of stabbing this way, he's holding the knife this way. And the student said, please stop, my master didn't teach me that one. But if you ask the true master what they tell you if somebody has a knife, run away. The true master tells you, run away. Even the MMA fighter tells you, run away. Because the chances are, if let's say depending on what you're wearing and all that, you'll be cut. Even if you try to block, if you try to shield. Again, please don't take advice for self-defense from me. But one thing I know is that there's some stuff that you cannot mess with. All these hand movement are not going to work with it. So children whose personality are not developed, what happened? We have kids who jump because they saw Spider-Man. We have an incident of them, kids getting hurt. They don't know. But as grown-ups, eventually you have to develop that character. You should know life is no fictional story that you can get away with everything. As you mature, what thing you learn is life teaches you things. Because your character becomes clear to who you are. You know your limits. We know our limitation. The other day I was talking to this person, and that person was saying that, I feel that we're getting old, and he was referring to both of us. So why? So before, I would go somewhere, and I said, okay, they do it that way. But now I know exactly what I want. I go somewhere, they do it a certain way. I don't like it, or at least I don't consider it to be, ideal. Or it doesn't make me happy. So you're not getting old. You know who you are. Because what it is with our lives is, as we are in a certain age, especially young, we don't even know what we want. We do what everybody else does. Children, they're master of what? Recently a child died because of a challenge on TikTok. There's so many different challenges. This one was called Blackout Challenge. A child died. What is that challenge and all that? Let's not even waste our time. They do it because they saw it on TikTok. Oh, this challenge, I'm going to do it. But as you age, you start asking the question, okay, why should I do this? Is this something that I want to do? Is this something aligned with my values? Does it make sense to me? But young people are, unfortunately, when I say young, I'm talking about teenagers, inshallah. Some people, they don't know what they want. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. So the sign of getting old is that you know what you want. So the next step, inshallah, and I finish with that, Imam Ali salam said, in order to build your character, you need to understand what is the preparation that you need in order to do something important. You want to get married? Don't be delusional about it. Yes, there's tawakkul. Yes, you have all, faith in Allah, you rely on Him. But you have to know, what is marriage about. You should know what it is. Don't be shocked as you get married. Oh, that's also in marriage. Yes, it's part of it. You want to start a business? Same. Young people say, should I buy a motorcycle? And I ask them, do you know what are you getting yourself into? Yeah, it's fun, is this, I know, but no, do you know the risk? If the answer is yes, bismillah, go for it. But to say this is a statement that you only live once and do whatever you want with the risk, that's not bravery, by the way. That's not bravery. It's not to be brave and put your life at risk. Imam Ali alayhi salam, with all that bravery, he will wear an armor. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam wear an armor. Ahlul Bayt, they did protect themselves. That doesn't take away from their bravery. They had the means. We should learn that. Otherwise, if you go without the means, we will perish. We put our life at, I would say, one shield of our era, wear this please. Muharram is around the corner. Protect yourself. Yes, Allah is the protector. Life is in the hand of Allah. Protect yourself. You say, I don't know if it really protects. These are all things. We don't know. Maybe it does protect. According to the professional, it does help. According to professionals. Those who are expert in it. And one more thing about jumping in, especially in the financial matters. Sometimes I do counseling, and one issue that I see in marriages is people making bad financial decisions, bad investments. And now the entire family is in trouble. Why? Because this person wanted to make money, but they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. There's a hadith of the Prophet, Naha Nabi an bay'il gharar. Prophet, he forbid people from engaging in businesses that are shady. Gharar is a business that you don't know who's the seller, who's the buyer. Nothing is clear. Like Dogecoin and stuff like that. You don't even know what's going on with it. A hype increases it, and the hype destroys it. Some of them we cannot, they're haram, by the way. If you don't know what yourself into, it's forbidden to engage in a business. If you did your homework, you know what's going on, you know the merchandise, you know the market, go for it. There's a risk of you losing, that's fine. But I don't even know what it is. Everybody buy this and I'm going to buy it. Do you know even what are you buying? I don't know. That kind of gambling is not permissible. That's one of those jumping in the middle of the depth of waves and ocean. Drowning is a high possibility. But the thing is that we try to comfort ourselves with exception. Oh, that person was in the middle of an ocean. After 20 days, he survived. You know, we like those stories, right? That person was abandoned or was stranded in the middle of the ocean for 30 days and he or she survived. That's one exception. How many people died? We cannot make our life based on those exceptions. Everything need a mean. The same way our love to Allah need a mean. We need our salah, right? We need our worship, our ibadah as a mean to connect with Allah. How can I say I love Allah alone? I need to find a mean, a wasila. Same is for dunya. Dunya also needs wasila. Rizq is there, but what is your wasila of rizq? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the expertise? What do you have? And one more thing, and I finish with that. This is final statement. You know, when the waves come after another, it is that when you face one challenge and another, try to change your path. Otherwise, you'll drown. Let's say if I go to this direction and I see a wave come and another come, change your direction, do something different. That's, of course, it's not about swimming, it's a metaphor. So let's say you start doing a business. You lose money and you try again and you lose money. Change. I wanted to do this job. For whatever reason, I got the education, the certificate, and everything. You try it, you don't make any money. You try it a different way. It's still change. Be versatile. Figure out what you're going to do with your life. Maybe this market doesn't work anymore. It's obsolete maybe. Don't limit yourself. You know, the said definition of insanity is to doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. So if you see that doesn't work after you tried, don't be of those that jump from one branch to another all the time. They don't hold one job even for 6 months. They just don't be those either. But there are people that for the last 5 years and still they're in a huge amount of debt. It doesn't work. Change. Find a way. Don't let that wave be the one that drowns you. May Allah inshallah grant all of us to think, as I said, every one of us, you look at this hadith and find the message for ourselves. Some of you are students, some of you are labor workers, some of you are engineers, whatever major you're in, this hadith can speak with you differently. The message, the value, the core message is the same. The application could be different. And that's the moment of tafakkur. I need to think about it. That's what's the application of this message to my life? What's the mean that I need to get and acquire in order to get to my goal? It could be different for someone else. May Allah grant all of us, with honor Imam Ali alayhi salam, ability and tawfiq of finding the proper means to get to our purpose, to our goals. And may Allah inshallah grant all of us in the most difficult times to not lose our hope, to find tawakkul as a way, as an anchor, as something that lifts us up. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be among those that He show us the path. That as He says, الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلًا. If you struggle, if you put your effort and you do it right, then we show you the path. We show you the roads. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Indeed, Allah is with those that are doers of good. As long as you do good, as long as we don't do dhulm, as long as we do everything right, then Allah said, I'll hold your hand and teach you the way. If you fail, if you don't have any other source of guidance. For the honor of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the master and the commander of the faithful, and then Imam and the leader of the side of Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm not sure that we are wrapping up or Okay.